Okay, we are now switching from the front end and the search interface to our administration interface. What I want to explain to you now is how to set up cmstudio.earchive with the email archive accounts so that we can cover all the emails which you are sending, receiving through your email server. There are 2 or 3 different methods how we can archive emails. The standard method is in principle that we here are setting up the synchronization between cmstudio.earchive and the email server by IMAP synchronization. The IMAP synchronization in principle is the most simple and the most adequate method to archive. The only thing what you have to take care for, if you are choosing the IMAP synchronization option, you have to set up for each email account of your email server manually email archive account. That means for a small company with 4 or 5 or 6 email users, it's very simple, it's not a lot of work. We can, in principle, here define the email archive accounts, which are then corresponding to your email addresses of your email server. The second method, which is the method for larger installations, I would say, or if someone is using a Microsoft Exchange server or Novell Groupwise, for example, then we recommend to use the appliance service. With the appliance service, you can generate email archive accounts automatically. The system will discover new accounts and will automatically set up the right archive box. That's something what I will explain a little later. Let's start with the IMAP synchronization process. And you see here we already have 4 users installed, and I just got a new colleague, which is his name is Oliver Reich for the MASH customer service, and let's bring him here into the archive. Then we say, okay, we add now a new user, a new email account into. So if you now look at the settings, what you have to define in the upper part of the mask, it's very easy, it's very simple, similar to what you're doing also if you're setting up an Outlook account for POP3 or IMAP's data synchronization. The first thing what we are writing in, we are doing the description of the internal name of the account. We are writing Oliver Reich. We are defining here his email address, which is oliver.reich@mash.com. We are then starting by mentioning the domain address of our email server, which is mail.mash.com. And we have to mention the IMAP port, which is the standard port 144. We can optionally choose if the IMAP synchronization should be done via SSL or TLS protocol. That means via a secure protocol. And the last thing, which is the most important, by the way, for the standard user account data is, of course, Oliver's login, which is O Reich. And I think we have here written the wrong name. We have to correct this, otherwise it would not work. O Reich, and of course his password. That's the part how we can first of all see if his connection will work. And therefore, we have a button here at the right side, which is test connection. And we can click on test connection to see if we get a connection to his email account. It takes a little bit of time. That looks not good. That means it's probably right that I have chosen here the wrong IMAP port. So let's close it again. That is here what it says. It doesn't get a connection to it. Yes, that's right, because in our case, we have not used the standard IMAP port. That was my mistake. So let's close the window again. We can set up here 143 as IMAP port, which is our specific IMAP port for mash.com. I think we don't need the test connection again here. What is very important for the synchronization of my email account or of the new email account is now to say that we have to set up the monitoring frequencies. That means, first of all, for the first run, how many days I want, or how many weeks. We can here click on the pop-up list. We can choose either weeks, days, months, or years. That means how long backwards I want to synchronize emails. If it is a new user, if it is a new employee in the company, here we don't need to mention anything. If Oliver, who is working now since 3 weeks already for the company and was forgotten to install proper, then we can define here the first run by a click on the mouse and to say here for 30 days backwards. That means with the initial synchronization process, cmstudio.earchive will take all the emails from the last 30 days into the archive mailbox. Very important is, of course, the monitoring frequency, which we can choose here from the pop-up list, either if you want to do it within minutes, within hours, days, and weeks. The regular way is to say the synchronizing frequency or monitoring frequency is done within, I would say, 5 up to 10 minutes. Let us say 10 minutes, then each 10 minutes, cmstudio.earchive will in principle check up Oliver's account if there are new emails have been sent or have been received. And we can also define the period where the synchronization process goes backwards if I have moved an email from mail inbox, for example, into my personal email folder, then this kind of synchronization will be also monitored 5 days backwards, for example. So now we have defined all settings together so that we can say this is enough. Now we can start the email archiving process and we click on Save and Close. What is now coming up here as explanation and warning is that the account will be locked. That means you cannot change the settings without that this will be taken into a special protocol. This is for the question of legal liability, again, very important, that the system cmstudio.earchive is monitoring if there might be changes done at your email account and that you cannot manipulate the complete email archiving process. Okay, we click here now on OK, and the data will be changed back and we will get now in the list the new user. And how can we see now if those data are really locked? Let us click again here on Edit to see if we can change data. What is very simply seen here and very easy to understand, all the data are grayed out. That means you have no chance to change the data. If you want to change data, for example, because the user has changed his password, then you have to first unlock the account because otherwise it's protected against changes. And let's try to do this. I will explain you how this works. Let's say here, close again. And first of all, we want to unlock Oliver's account now by marking here with a check mark his account and then go on to the button unlock. You will be asked for the administrator password. What is your own password? So we can type in the admin password here, which should be not an easy password so that cannot be easily hacked. If we now say click on an OK, then it opens not directly this account, but it marks it with an asterisk. That means an account which is marked by this asterisk, that's the symbol how you can see that an account is not locked. And as long as the account is not locked, it will be also not again synchronized and will not do the regular archival process. That means we can now again say edit, and we can look if we now can change information. We click here and we click there on edit. And you see, now it's not grayed out. We can change those things. Let us say we are changing the monitoring frequency simply from 10 to 5 minutes. And we say again, save and close, because that's everything what we want to do here. We get again this reminder, and only administrators will be able to unlock, of course, the account. And what you will see directly is the asterisk mark is gone. But how does an auditor, for example, can now see if there might be done changes which are not regular and not proper? That's very easy. We again edit now Oliver's account without unlocking the account. That means we click here on edit. All those changes, what you are doing at the account, will be written into the user protocol. Here you can see exactly at which time the account was created. The account was unlocked, and what we have changed during the unlock procedure. That means the system rather documents proper all necessary changes at a user account. And this is very important if for a legal process, for a fiscal auditor process, the fiscal auditors wants to see, has someone manipulated email accounts? Is the monitoring procedure interrupted by a user, perhaps because someone wanted to manipulate email communication? Then you can see this here, very exact at cmstudio.earchive in the user's protocol. So the last thing what we have to do is, in principle, it's one thing that you say, I'm defining user accounts for archiving. That's more a technical feature, more a backup situation. But if the user should have the chance also to use CM Studio eArchive as search engine for his email content, then you also should give him a user account where he can log into the front-end interface what we saw, into the search mass, and that's done here by the function linked users. That's nothing what has to be changed by unlock process. So we can add now here the right user. We click on linked users, and you see, first of all, here we want to select a user. The list of users of cmstudio.earchive portal includes, of course, Oliver Reich. That means we can set here a check mark, and then we can say apply at the right list of the buttons. That means in future, Oliver with his regular account can log into the internet portal like I did it as well in my previous part of the presentation, and then he can see his emails. And if he is working, for example, with Margarita Collette, with one of our existing colleagues in one work group, together in the same department, and he also shares folders with her in the email server, then he should have access also to those folders in the archive system, so that he can also see the shared folders, and that the collaboration idea of our email system should be followed by the email archiving solution as well. So then he can here say he will be linked to the shared user Margarita Collect by clicking here. So now we can say save and close, and we can later on show that he is now able not only to see the archive mails from himself, but also from Margarita. So this is the basic way how we can set up cmstudio.earchive if we want to use the feature of IMAP synchronization, which is very easy, very quick done, and for smaller companies with 5 up to 10 users, the most, I would say, convenient way how you can set up your email archive system within, I would say, 30 up to 40 minutes, and then it's running, and it guarantees you a reliable application for backup, for searching your emails, and as well for the legal aspects. But what is if we are using an email server like Microsoft Exchange, like Novell Group-wise, and we are a mid-sized company with about 50 users with regular personal employee changes, then this way of doing the manual setup of each user might be difficult, might be a lot of work for the IT administrator, and of course that's not the goal. Okay, if someone leaves the company, for example, if Oliver would leave the company, that's very easy to set him inactive, because we can edit him here again, and what we can say, we can close the account. But therefore we have to unlock him first. Or the more strong way, let's say it in this way, we close it here, we directly say we delete him because we don't need access to his archive. He was only for 2 weeks in the company, it's not so important. We can click on close here, and we directly can say we marked him, and we say here delete. So what's happening now, and that's what we can do, is okay, he will be taken out of the list of active accounts, and it will be taken to the list of deleted accounts. Those deleted accounts are users which are not any longer in the company. No one wants to access their email archive, but they cannot, in case of legal liability, delete it physically. They will be put into this, I would say, paper, similar to paper work, into a trash, which is still at any time restorable, or that the administrator can retrieve information. So everything what I explained here is very simple and very quick done for a small company. Coming back to the idea, what is with a Microsoft Exchange server, with Novell Group-wide server, or Lotus Notes with 50 users? If the administrator has to do those steps always manually, then he has to do probably daily changes. Email accounts will be changed, people are leaving, people are getting coming into the company as new employees, passwords have to be changed. That would be not acceptable to do all those steps manually. So we click again back on email accounts, starting away from 10 users or more. It's better to use the appliance mode of cmstudio.earchive, because using the appliance mode and the appliance services of cmstudio.earchive, it's not any longer necessary to define each user manually. The only thing what you have to do, first of all, you have to activate the appliance. And then you can here mention the email domains which should be covered, that means should be monitored by cmstudio.earchive. Those can be more than one domain. Like we are doing this here. We are typing in msetech.de, the email domain of our customer service provider, and mash.com, our own email domain. So the next step now is to understand how is your email server working. Let's take the example of a journal user communication. The journal user is a feature which Microsoft, for example, Microsoft supports and provides with Microsoft Exchange. That means the journal user can be set up at Microsoft Exchange via the administration interface. It's a virtual user which will get from every email which goes out and comes in a blind copy. Some documentation explains it also as a BCC user. In principle, this user cannot be touched by any kind of regular user of the Exchange server system. It's like the bookkeeping description of the word says already, it's a journaling user which takes from each email, either if it is an external email as well as internal emails, it gets him a copy of this email in his mailbox. What we are doing here is, in principle, we are monitoring this journal user via IMAP, the same procedure as we did before for regular users of smaller systems. The funny thing here is, as far as we have defined in the properties which domain will be monitored, the journal user has, if we receive emails via our Exchange server, then in the receipt list or in blind copy or in CC addresses, there will be users mentioned with the domain name msetech.de or mash.com. That means the appliance service of cmstudio.earchive are taking those emails, they are extracting the list of recipients or senders, and the system automatically builds up for each individual email address an individual archive box, as long as it is covered by the list of domains at the properties of the appliance node. In this way, if we have 50 users in the company, it's very easy. If someone is leaving, will be not any longer mentioned. After a certain number of days, the email account becomes inactive, or the administrator can set an account inactive. But for a new user, the administrator has not to mention a new user account. That means the system detects by itself all new email addresses based on the domain list and creates for a new user a new email account, sets up a generic password, informs this user by a generic email that he can access his email archive, and in principle from this point on, the system will archive all the information automatically, in principle by only monitoring and synchronizing the journal user feature. We don't use this now here because otherwise it makes no sense in case of the basic setup what we did for IMAP information. The only thing what should be mentioned here, journaling type. If we click on the pop-up list, you will see there are two different kind of journaling processes which Microsoft Exchange provides. That's the one is the BCC journaling or the envelope journaling. This is related to the release of your Microsoft Exchange server. The older one is using only BCC journaling, and since Microsoft Exchange 2007, you can either use the one or the other. So we provide, of course, support for both. The third way of setting up the cmstudio.earchive service is as well as appliance service. That means we are starting again with the properties. We are monitoring, if we click here, like we did it before, we are monitoring here the domains. No, we don't click here, we click on properties. We have listed out our email domains, and alternatively to what Microsoft is doing with the Exchange server, other systems working with EML backups. For Novell Groupwise, for example, we provide together with a partner an interface. This interface of the Groupwise email server stores every email which has been sent or received onto a storage system like a backup in EML, in standard EML code. And what CM Studio eArchive is doing there is very simple. In principle, that works if we monitors either via network interface or via FTP connection, the storage of the archived emails, the backup emails, and imports them into the system, and then the same procedure and the same way of extraction of the emails will be done like at the journal user system. So for the appliance services, we provide either journal user or EML import, and both methods are working very similar depending on what your email server is providing. The only thing what most smaller companies have to fight today with, they don't have their own email server. They are hosting their emails at their internet provider. So in this case, they never will be able to use an appliance service if they don't have access to the administration of the email server. So, and therefore, and here we can close the window, in principle, we can say here, okay? In principle, the most common way how emails can be archived is still the IMAP synchronization, as we explained it very extensively before. What I did now in this 20 minutes of description how to set up cmstudio.earchive, that's just the way how you have to set up the server for you. That means cmstudio.earchive. I hope you remember my introduction by PowerPoint slides is a very reliable, very easy to use application so that you can quickly install email archiving features for your individual use. And I want to thank you first of all, because I want to end here my live demonstration. The only thing what I will explain to you in the last part of our introduction training is how you can use cmstudio.earchive as a cloud service for the case that you don't have in your own network your own server installed. This means also normally that you have no email server in-house installed, that you have your email server using by an internet provider, and what we can give you is an additional service that instead of a local installation of cmstudio.earchive, you can use cmstudio.earchive as a cloud service from MASH customer service. That's what we will explain you within the next small slides. Thank you very much.